Alright everybody, welcome to the channel. Today we're going to be talking about functions in Haskell. So here what we have is actually a JavaScript file. And the reason I'm showing this is basically just to compare the differences between JavaScript and Haskell as far as like writing functions. So just to give you a brief overview, if you're not familiar with JavaScript, I'll just go through this file and explain what's going on. Here we have this function called greeting. This greeting function accepts one parameter called name, and on line number 2 we're basically just returning um, a string of hello plus whatever name we passed into this function. And on line 6 we're basically calling this greeting function and we're passing in this parameter of Caesar. Essentially what this would give us after we called it would be hello Caesar. Great. In Haskell, writing this same function is different. So let's write it. So in Haskell we would say greeting, right? That's our function name. This function takes one argument, and that argument we're going to call it name, just like how we did in that JavaScript file. And in the body, what we want to return back from this function is a string, and we'll call it hello plus Caesar. Oh, my bad. Hello plus whatever name we passed in, right? And again, this is the argument that this function accepts, and we're using it here in the body of our function. So let's load this up. Let's make sure this works. Let's turn on GHCI. Great. Notice that I'm already in my Haskell example directory, and we want to load this file global.hs. So let's do :L and we'll do global.hs. Great. And we call this greeting function, so let's say greeting Caesar. And we get hello Caesar. Great. So you can see that obviously writing these two functions is just very different than something that you would write in JavaScript. It's a little bit more concise, there's less characters to write, and this is one of the reasons why I've really fallen in love with Haskell. Now, some of the other unique features that Haskell has as far as writing functions is this thing called pattern matching. So let's do some pattern matching now. So just to expand on our greeting function, what we can do is call greeting again and say in the event that I pass in the parameter of Caesar, right, what we can do is return a specific thing. So we can say hello Caesar, you stink. Okay, great. And then we can just continue this trend. So we can say greeting, and in the event that I specify, let's say Luna, I can return a specific thing, say hello Luna, how are you? Great. So as you can see, if we call this function with this specific argument of Luna, it'll give me this specific string. So let's try that out. Let's load this script again. Load global.hs. Okay, and let's call greeting, and we'll say Caesar. And notice that I get hello Caesar, you stink, which is this line right here, right? Because we called it specifically with Caesar. What about with Luna? Okay, we get hello Luna, how are you? Great. And notice that I left this last line there, right? And this is basically my catch-all. So in the event that I don't call greeting with Luna, or in the event that I don't call greeting with Caesar, this line down here is what's going to run. So I can call greeting and call it with Joe, and all it will give me is hello Joe. Basically hello and whatever name we passed into our greetings function. Great. So that's a very basic example of pattern matching. We'll get more advanced when we get into recursion, but that's not gonna be this video. That'll be a follow-up video. Now, another unique thing that you can do with Haskell as far as functions are concerned are basically guards. So let's create our first guard here, and we will call this function is x big. Okay, so this function is called is x big, and we're gonna say that our is x big function takes one argument. Great. So let's create our first guard, and we'll say in the event that x is greater than 10, I want to return the string, hey, x is greater than 10. In the event, right, we're going to have specify another guard, x is less than 10. We're going to specify a string, hey, x is less than 10. Okay. Otherwise, right, and this is going to be our catch-all. Otherwise, this function is going to return, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do with that. Okay, so basically, basically in the case where x is greater than 10, right, we're going to return this string. If x is less than 10, we're going to return this string, and we have this catch-all. Otherwise, basically stating that if it didn't match these two guards right here, then we're going to return this string. So let's load up this file one more time. And let's call is x big. Is x big? And we'll call it with 1. And notice that it says, hey, x is less than 10. Great. Let's call it with 11. Hey, x is greater than 10. Beautiful. And now let's call it with 10, and that should produce our catch-all. I don't know what to do with that. Right, so this is a beautiful way, instead of writing a bunch of if-else conditions that you would find in other languages. Now, Haskell has that ability to do that too. It does have if-else conditions, but for the most part, as you can see, it's a little bit easier to read, more concise to write. And you can imagine having a huge file with just these nice little concise functions that you can easily read, instead of having a bunch of nested if-else conditions that is a little bit harder to read. I find this to be much more enjoyable, one to work with and one to read. It does get a little bit of getting used to, but man, just how concise these functions are, the the way you could basically replace if-else conditions with these guards, or you can do something like pattern matching, which we're going to be making a lot of use of when we start to deal with recursion. I don't know, this is one of the reasons why I continue to learn about Haskell. I am in no way a professional in this language, but I continue to learn, and this is really what caught my attention and why I'm really falling in love with this language. So that's it for today. If you found this video useful, I will post my Ada address in the description below, so if you want to buy me a coffee, it'd be greatly appreciated. I want you to all have a wonderful night, and I will see you next time.